Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And every Sunday, I like to do a little series over here called Soulful Sundays, something to help us start the week, something to think about as we go into the week ahead. And I always like to read some kind of meditation on Sundays and then just talk about it on here. For me, it's a good way to go into the week and think about, well, this is something that I want to focus on working on for the following week, if that makes sense. And so I just go through my meditation books and I pick out something that seems pertinent to this week or things that people have been asking me a lot about. And one of the questions that people ask me a lot about is, Peter, you talk so much about toxic relationships and how to set boundaries for people in your life, but what do you do when you have family members who are toxic to you? How do you set limits and boundaries with toxic family members? And you can't just get rid of them because they're family members, you love them, but they're toxic to your life, they bring chaos into your life. What do you do? So interesting enough, I opened the meditation book to July 15th, Sunday, July 15th, and the meditation, and this is in The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beatty. I've talked a lot about Codependent No More recently, which was a life-changing book for me. I will link it below if you guys want to go check it out, go check it out. And it says, okay, so today's meditation is so fantastic because I get so many emails about this. It is called Family Buttons. I mean, isn't that so funny? It's so apropos that that is the meditation on the heels of me getting all these questions. Okay, Family Buttons. And this is it's a quote by Anonymous. I was 35 years old the first time I spoke to my mother and refused to buy into her games and manipulation. I was terribly frightened and almost couldn't believe I was doing this. I found I didn't have to be mean. I didn't have to start an argument. But I could say what I wanted and needed to say to take care of myself. I learned I could love and honor myself and still care about my mother the way I wanted to, not the way she wanted me to. Who knows better how to push our buttons than family members? Who, besides family members, do we give such power? No matter how long we or our family members have been recovering, relationships with family members can be provocative. And this doesn't have to just be about recovering people. It can be about any family members in your life. One telephone conversation can put us in an emotional and psychological tailspin that lasts for hours or days. And that is so true of my past, but I will tell you about that in a second. Sometimes it gets worse when we begin recovery because we become even more aware of our reactions and our discomfort. So if you aren't in recovery and you want to equate that to something, when you start making healthy changes in your life, you're going to notice more the unhealthy relationships or the qualities of the unhealthy relationships because you're putting more energy to be positive and change things in a healthy way. So you're going to really notice how unhealthy things are, if that makes sense. Sometimes it gets worse when we begin recovery because we become even more aware of our reactions and our discomfort. That's uncomfortable, but good. It is by beginning this process of awareness and acceptance that we change, grow, and heal. The process of detaching in love from family members can take years, and this is where she gets into codependency. So can the process of learning how to react in a more effective way. We cannot control what they do or try to do, but we can gain some sense of control over how we choose to react. Stop trying to make them act or treat us any differently. Unhook from their system by refusing to try to change or influence them. Their patterns, particularly their patterns with us, are their issues. How we react or allow these patterns to influence us is our issue. How we take care of ourselves and is our issue. We can love our family and still refuse to buy into their issues. We can love our family but refuse their efforts to manipulate, control, or produce guilt in us. We can take care of ourselves with family members without feeling guilty. We can learn to be assertive with family members without being aggressive. We can set the boundaries we need and want to set with family members without being disloyal to the family. We can learn to love our family without forfeiting love and respect for ourselves. Today, help me start practicing self-care with family members. Help me know that I do not have to allow their issues to control my life, my day, or my feelings. Help me know it's okay to have all of my feelings about family members without guilt or shame. And I think that's so important. I think this meditation is just goosebumps profound to me. You know, I mean, it's so good. And the reason why I think it's so good is because I really struggled for this for years and years, especially with my mom. And, you know, I talk a lot about my mom being this wise woman, and she was, and we had a great relationship. But you know, even when you get sober, you still have a lot of manipulation and all that kind of stuff at the beginning stages, even if you're working a recovery program. And my mother could be very manipulative, even as a sober alcoholic. And one of the ways that she would manipulate was by guilt. So, you know, as the years went on, I worked a lot. And I think anybody that, you know, knows my story knows that I worked very, very hard to not have to work so much at the point where I'm at now in my life. And so I was working 50, 60 hours a week. You know, I had more than one job, and I was working a lot. And I would do and I was in a full-time relationship. And I was in a relationship where I lived with somebody. I also had a best friend as a roommate. The three of us lived together. So I really didn't have a lot. And this was actually at the time that I was in a master's program too. So I didn't have a lot of free extra time, even for myself, you know? But I would try to go see my mom like once or twice a week. I would call her every day, check in with her. And I remember I was sitting with her one day, and right here in this condo where she used to live, and we were sitting there and we were drinking coffee, and you know, she said to me, and I just kind of had it, like, have you ever had those days where it's just like I just can't take it anymore, right? But you don't want to like attack in anger or respond in anger. You just are tired. You're just emotionally, you're just tired, you know? And she said to me, she's like, you know, Peter, I love you, but you just don't come and see me very often. And have I done something, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm just lonely. I'm not very happy. And, you know, if I saw you more, I'd probably be happier. And I don't know. I've told this story so many times to friends of mine. I don't know what happened in that moment. I don't know, you know, if it was some divine intervention that gave me the words to speak that I had needed to say, because I didn't act angry. I didn't say anything mean. I just said the truth. And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean if you saw me more, you would be happier? And she goes, I mean, you know, you're an only child. I don't really have anybody else in my life. If I saw you more, I'd just be so much happier. Guilt, shame, guilt, shame. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not responsible for your happiness. And she said, what did you say to me? And I said, Mom, I love you. I want you to be happy. I'm not responsible for your happiness. You are. You have to make yourself happy. And you know, I feel blessed that at that time she had the language of recovery to be able to have enough self-awareness that her response to me wasn't cruel. Like, I can't believe you would say that to me or something like that. You know, what she said to me was, do I make you feel that way? Like, do I make you feel that you're responsible for my happiness? And I said, yeah, absolutely you do. But what I know today, Mom, is that I'm responsible for my happiness. You're responsible for yours. And you don't make me feel any way, but it does feel like that at times, right? And what I have to do now is take care of myself. And I have to make myself happy, and I want you to be happy too. And then our language started changing over time. We were more transparent with each other. We were more honest with each other about our feelings and our emotions. You know, she'd just say, I miss you. I wish I could see you more. And I'd say, well, I'm really busy. And she'd say, I know I am. And I'm very proud that you're working hard, because there was a day that you were unwilling to get a job. And now I can't, you know, keep you not working. So, you know, she was very happy about the changes that had happened, but she was sad that she didn't get to see me. Well, there's a difference in I'd like to see my son more than you coming over here makes me happy, and you're responsible for that. And that's where I think we fall into these patterns with parents and family members, you know, that say things to us that make us feel responsible for them. We can set limits and boundaries with our family members. We can speak to them calmly and tell them our truth and how we feel about things without being cruel about stuff, right? You know, if your mother or your father says things that hurt your feelings, my mother did when I was growing up. You know, I would color my hair some color and she'd come down and say, you're not going to school like that, are you? But with all of my friends that had crazy hair colors and crazy clothes and all that kind of stuff, she'd say, oh, your friends are so individual. They're so different. I love that they embrace that. But with me, it was different. And so finally one day I said to her, do you remember when I was in high school, you used to really hurt my feelings. You broke my confidence. It felt that way. You know, I mean, today I know I'm responsible for that. I said, you would say things to me, like I'd walk down the stairs and I'd think my hair looked so good and I had colored it, and you'd look at me and be like, are you going to school that way? And I said, you know, Mom, you could say anything nice about my friends and being crazy looking and embracing their individuality, but for me, it was different, you know? And she said, do you know why that is? And I said, no. And she said, I was afraid for you. You're my child. I was afraid that people would make fun of you or that people would say things to you, you know? This was along the same conversation as when I told her about it, being bullied and stuff. And she said, so I was trying to prevent that from happening. And I said, okay, but why couldn't we have had that conversation? Why couldn't that be the conversation to say, you know, sweetie, if that's what you want to do with your hair, but do you know people might look at that and say something funny? I just don't want you to get hurt, you know? That is a conversation, okay? Instead of, you're not going to go to school like that. Those are completely two different things being said. Until we start teaching people how to talk to us, because we do teach people how to talk to us, right? And, you know, on my main channel, I make a lot of jokes about Dr. Phil and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, there's this one episode that I saw, and I kind of mock this a lot on the, you know, the drama channel. But there was this episode, and there was this one, this was a true story. And this woman, she was on there, and she talked about how, you know, her husband had cheated on her, and she had stayed with him for 25 years, raised 5 kids, and he would never work, and she worked 2 jobs, and, you know, she would buy him cigarettes and alcohol, and he continued to cheat on her, and blah, blah, blah. And then she looked at him, and she said, and Dr. Phil, like, one day he just walked out and never came back. I mean, after I had, you know, raised his kids and took care of him and put food on his table and paid all the bills. Can you believe that? And Dr. Phil, you guys want a Dr. Phil impression, or is this too serious? Dr. Phil looked at her and goes, absolutely, I believe that. We teach people how to treat us, see? And you know what? I like remember that. I mean, yeah, it's funny in retrospect, but it's true, you know? It is absolutely 100% true. We teach people how to treat us. And what he was saying it was truthful, it was tough love, it was harsh, but what he was saying was, you allowed this man to treat you this way for 25 years? Yes, he knew how he was treating you. No, it doesn't surprise me, because for 25 years you said this was okay. Well, as long as we continue to allow family members to talk to us in negative ways, treat us in negative ways without standing up for ourselves, and we don't have to stand up for ourselves and bang the table, you know, and all that kind of stuff. You know, it really reminds me a lot of The Color Purple, the movie The Color Purple, speaking of, you know, Oprah. And I thought her role as Miss Sophia was fantastic. And, you know, when she comes back years later and she's at that dinner table, I think it's on Easter, and she says, she just sits there and she starts rocking, and she says, you know, Miss Sophia home, things about to change around here. She doesn't say it nasty, she doesn't say it calm. She just says, things are about to change around here, you know? And I think that's a lesson for all of us and how we can talk to people. That if you talk to people in a way of respect, if you speak to them respectfully over time, and you don't get angry and you don't get all heated, what they'll realize is you're talking to them in a different language, and then they'll either be forced to come down to that or look nuts. And nobody really wants to look nuts, right? I don't allow people to speak to me that way today. I had a friend of mine years ago say to me, we were talking about some different relationship that I was in and the way that I was spoken to. And my friend said to me, if my husband spoke to me that way, what I would say to him was, you must not think very highly of me to think that it's okay to speak to me that way. And today, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a friend. I don't care if it's a coworker. I don't care if it's my father. If somebody speaks to me that way, I look at them and I say, you must not think very highly of me to think it's okay to speak to me that way. And if I allow it, what I'm saying is, I don't think very highly of myself to allow someone to speak to me that way. And I don't have to be nasty about it. I don't have to be rude. I can just say, you know what? I don't really care about how you're talking to me right now. Can you change your tone, please? I'm willing to listen to you, but don't speak to me that way. And those are effective ways to set boundaries and limits with family members as well as friends and family and our other family members in our lives. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to be nasty about it. We don't have to be rude. We can just state facts. I hope that helps you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.